Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Midas Touch Book Club, a book where the leading experts reveal their top secrets to winning big and in life. Throughout the last weeks, we've been introducing you to the authors inside the book. And today we're happy to have with us Gloria J. Yorke, who's basically the person who created the chapter Dying to Get Well. Hello, Gloria.
Hi, Jasmine. It's so nice to be with you. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for being here. We're happy to have you. And joining us today, we have Lady Christopher Barrett. Hi, Christopher.
Hi, greetings and blessings, everyone.
And we have Ivan Nosa.
Hello, everybody.
And a little later on, we might see our friend Joshua show up. So let's go straight to the core. We want to talk to Gloria about your chapter. First of all, Gloria, congratulations. I mean, the critiques for your chapter are like, so many people love it, and there's like so many of them. So congratulations for that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have heard beautiful comments about the entire book. People find it to be such an easy read, and it's loaded with so much beautiful information, such as from the three of you. Your chapters are so enlightening. And so it's wonderful to be part of such a talented group.
Thank you very much. I want to let you know how much I appreciate that you did write this chapter, because in the past few years, I myself have been aware of how we kind of give, when it comes to health, we kind of give all our responsibility to our doctors. Like we give our health to our doctors, and if something happens, you know, it's our doctor's fault. And I like what your chapter for that, because it really reminds us that doctors are human beings and they can make mistakes. And if we're not on top of our stuff and we don't know what we're talking about and we don't know what's going on, then really bad medical mistakes can happen. And that's why I really love your chapter.
Oh, thank you.
But share with us, like, what brought you to write this chapter? I mean, I understand what brought you, but give us a little bit of a background.
Okay, for some of us who have not yet purchased the book or have read it, my husband had collapsed at our home in July of 2012, and he was fine. He had his senses about him. He knew where he was. The major thing was he had severe headache pain, which caused him to scream out. And so I called the ambulance, and taking him to the nearest hospital, through the MRI, they found that he had blood all over his brain. Now, I did hear him hit the wall 3 times. So, yes, it made sense to me that he really had quite a trauma. So they recommended that they transport him to a hospital that had a neurological department. And so after a few hours of asking the various hospitals if they could take him in intensive care, one close by did. So well known. And so he was in intensive care for 3 days until the blood started to go back into his body. And so they figured that they would move him up to a regular floor, and then they would start rehab. In about 3 days or so, they said he could probably go home. So up to the main floor we went, and rehab came immediately. They tested him, touch your nose, touch your toes, and he said, I can even walk for you. And they said, well, go ahead, show us. And so he passed the test with flying colors. And then they said, great, tomorrow you're coming down to rehab and you will be going home in about 3 days. He fell asleep, and as I was sitting there, the doctor came in and she said, I have assumed his count. I am his doctor now. And I'm going to change his blood pressure medicine, his diabetes medicine. I'm going to increase the Norco, which is for the pain in the head. And she made some other changes and said, and tonight I'm giving him a sleeping pill. Well, I have no medical training. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse. But I remember learning, even as a child, if someone hits their head or has a concussion, you certainly do not want them to sleep. So I said to her, you have his chart in your hand? Yes. You read it? Yes. And you know he has blood all over his brain. And I don't think a sleeping pill is the right thing to give him. And she said, oh, yes, yes, yes. I want him to sleep real good because tomorrow he's going to rehab and I want him to be awake. I said, well, obviously you could see he doesn't have any trouble sleeping. He's sleeping right now. So I just don't think that's the right thing. Well, she cut me off and said, look, I know what I'm doing. And she turned around and walked out. Well, that was around 2:30 in the afternoon. And of course, you know, you sit and you think about it, you pray on it. And I left him about 9 o'clock, knowing that he usually gets his pills about 10. I went home, got home about 9:30. And as usual, he called to say good night again and to make sure I got home safely. So I told him to get some sleep. I'll be there first thing in the morning. And I asked him to put the nurse back on the phone. So I said to her, you know, I've been thinking about this sleeping pill the doctor mentioned, and I do not feel comfortable with it. I do not want him to have it. And she said, well, too late. I already gave it to him before we called you. Well, obviously a chill went through my entire body. I did not sleep good at all that night. Rushed into the hospital about 7:30 that morning, only to find him already in a coma. I'm in the process of writing the book. I have a publisher. I've had a publisher for about a year and a half now, and the book will be published next year. And I'm going to recap the entire story and into the fact about doctor's care. But for this book, for our Midas Touch, I highlighted what I had learned in being an advocate for someone who's ill. An advocate, obviously, is just another name for loving someone. Whether the person in the bed is your spouse, your friend, your mom or dad, your sibling, it doesn't matter. If you love them, then you want to sit there and you want to be very aware of what's going on. You don't just want to arrive with a box of chocolates and a magazine and there and yell up to them, well, how are you feeling? And they say, well, I have pain. And you say, well, the nurse will be in shortly. No. You have to assume a role of responsibility. And when you go to see that person, you put in your eagle eyes, because you are then that person's eyes and ears and protection. If you walk in and you look at the floor and you see there's debris on the floor that has been there for a day or two, and then you zero in immediately for the person, and you look at the linens, if they're soiled and if they have been. If the person has a frown, that usually means that he or she is in pain somewhere. And a lot of times they won't say anything because they're frightened. They don't know what's going on. They don't want anybody to get mad at them. It's amazing what goes through their mind when you're in the hospital. And so it's up to you to check them for rashes and question them. Are you in pain? Where is your pain? Did you sleep good last night? You didn't. Why not? And then you take this information to the nurse of the day and bring it to her attention, because they have so many other patients and they're rushing around and they're not going to give yours any special attention unless you keep it. how special they are to you. And I have naturally even called the doctor. And I recommend that. But we call the doctor, and we have the nurse call the doctor. I did it personally. And I said I wanted to meet with him in person at my husband's bedside. And I asked, when will you be here? Well, I'm usually there Monday through Friday from 8 p.m. to midnight. And I just said, fine, I'll be here. I'll be here tomorrow night waiting for you. And I did. And you have your questions ready so that when they leave, you're not bothering them every single day. You write down your questions that you have. What's wrong? And how long do you think it's going to take that person to heal? And what can I do to help? And what are we doing? And why are you prescribing this particular medicine? And on. Make sure that you have yourself prepared so you can intelligently talk to anyone else. That's what caused me to write the chapter about the inadequacy. And of course, as we all know, we were reduced to writing only 1,000 words. And I don't know about you, but my first draft was 3,500 words. And I thought, oh my goodness, how can I get this down to 1,000 words and still make my point? So isn't it amazing how when you edit, you do it? And consequently, what I did is reduced it to 10 major points of being advocate, what to look for, what to do. Do you have any other questions?
Well, I think there was something about a wedding ring.
Oh, I wonder why I'm still wearing my wedding ring. You know, a lot of people ask that, especially male suitors, potential male suitors, let's put it that way.
I'm sorry, Gloria.
Yes.
Can you talk louder?
Okay, I'll try.
Thanks.
Is that better?
I'm having a little audio issue.
Yeah, I think you need to talk a little louder, Gloria. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I can do. Is that better?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Great,
Yes.
great. Yeah, when people say to me, especially men, when are you going to take off that ring? Kind of brazen, but that's exactly the way it comes out. And I just say, when I have a good reason to. And that means I was so blessed to have such a wonderful, loving husband. And if God blesses me again with meeting another gentleman that is similar, loving and fun-loving, then I have reason to take it off, and at that point I would. But till then, ring's been on my finger for 33 years, and so right now that's where it's going to stay. And up to this point, it'll be 3 years that my husband passed. In January, it will be 3 years. And I can honestly say up to this point, I have not had any desire to meet anyone else or to date anyone else. But I think in writing the book and having it published, I think it's going to bring a lot of closure to many issues for me. And then we'll see what God has planned for me from then.
Gloria, you made such a beautiful point because a lot of people, I know a lot of people, when we lose a beloved, we hold on to some sort of sentimental item, in your case, the wedding ring. And in another case, a dear friend of mine who owns a major NFL football team, he had a little angel that he always wore because that's what his wife was. And I had dinner with him, and I said, and I'm highly intuitive, or we call it my intuitive Tourette's. And I said, that's so beautiful. That's a symbol from your beloved, isn't it? And he said, yes. And somebody recently told me to take it off. And I'm like, oh no, like, no, don't do that. That's her with you. You know, don't ever, allow an outside voice who doesn't understand your own heart to determine what your actions are. And to this day, he still wears it. He loves it. In fact, the whole team the whole football team has these little angels on their uniforms. But it's such a beautiful thing, and I totally agree with you. You wear it, it's like forever if you need to. There's no reason to. It's a symbol of love. You know, whether it's a ring or a little angel pin or a picture. You know, some people say, "Isn't it time to take down the pictures?" Well, why would you take down the pictures? You know. So I think that's really poignant for people who have that, you know, I guess, desire to please others or get weak around others' influence, and they take it off. If your heart is not into something, you keep doing what you're doing. You stay right where your heart is.
That's true, very true. And you know, if eventually I would meet someone else, and it would become very serious, I can understand that that person does not want to continually see my husband's pictures all over the place, nor have me constantly reliving events that we shared together. I understand that totally. I really do. It's just right now at this point, I haven't been there. I haven't been approached by anyone or have any sort of a serious relationship going. So it hasn't become an issue. But if it does, I certainly can understand that. And there is a time to stop and start a whole new chapter, as some people like to refer to it as, or close that book and start a whole new one with someone else. And I agree totally. And as you know, I am a channeler also, and I channel my husband constantly. I mean, our conversations are constant. And he himself has said to me, and has told me that he has moved on to his next assignment. And that's the way that he put it. He has moved on to his next assignment, and he has started it. But he's always with me, and all I have to do is mention his name or think of him in that regard, and he's right next to me, right there, instantly. However, he has said to me that it's okay. It's okay for you to move on also. And of course, he has said from day one, write that book. Write the book. I hear that all the time. I've heard that for the last couple of years. And then I tried, and I started. It's tremendously emotional, right? Because I have to relive what was said and what was done and what occurred to him and what happened. And so it's like tearing open these scars again. And that's why it's taken so long. But I have to get through it. And I will get through it.
Gloria,
Yes.
we have something in common because I do wear, you see, my father's wedding ring. For some reason, he just passed away last February, and I found his ring, you know, in his drawer, one of his drawers, and I just started to wear it, and it is still with me. I don't know really why. I just feel comfortable with it, so I wear it. Makes me feel probably some kind of link with. I will not probably wear it for all my life. I don't know, but in this right moment, I know it is right for me to wear it.
And Ivan, that's funny because on my bracelet arm, the friend in my chapter that I speak of, I have her bracelet on. So you never know how long you're going to wear it because I've had hers on for 17 years. So
I just wanna take a little a few minutes to interrupt our conversations. I want to tell the people, I see that we have viewers, and I want to tell you, viewers, if you have any questions, I did activate the question and answer for this Google Hangout. So if you have any questions, you just type it in, and I'm going to see it appear on the screen, and then I'll ask Gloria, or if you have questions for anybody else, it's also possible. So just wanted to say that. And now back to Gloria.
Well, you know, like you were saying, Ivan and Priscilla, when you wear something from someone who's departed, an essence of that person does stay with you. And when my mother first passed away, I wore a lot of her sweaters and her coats, and they were way too big for me. But I put them on, and I just felt like her arms were wrapping around me. And I even do that with some of my husband's jackets. And it's just amazing. Their essence is still there. And because they are. You know, they are. We can't see them, and we can only feel their touch if they have tremendous energy, because it does take tremendous energy for them, for us to feel them. But they're not gone. And my husband didn't truly understand all this channeling stuff.
now he does.
And yeah, and he would say, you know, I can't get over it, because when we would have friends that would pass, I would automatically, friends or relatives, automatically they would come to me here and channel. And I must say, they're tremendously adamant about it, especially the first 3 days when they pass. Within the first 3 days, they want to say so much. And they talk so fast, and it's just, oh, you just have to pass this on to my wife or my children or whatever. They have their messages. And it's almost like they know that this window is going to be closing. Now, it never closes completely, but during those first 3 days, it's wide open. And I used to write and write and write and write as fast as I could, and now, of course, you know, I use the computer quite a bit, and then I have to go back and correct all the typos and that, because I'm just trying to get it all down. And but I used to say to my husband, you know, he would say, when you're dead, you're dead. He said, that's it. And I say, no, not exactly, hon. And I said, well, who knows? Maybe someday, I said, if you go first, I said, you'll see. You'll experience what I'm talking about. And doggone, it didn't happen like instantly. And he said to me, I am so glad you can hear me, because I am here, and I'll never leave. And I was very happy to hear that. And I started laughing. I said, I told you. So we have our little chuckle.
That is so beautiful, Gloria, and I think that's helpful for a lot of people too. But you know, going back to your chapter, it's so important because you know we want to say doctors are human and they can make mistakes, but they sometimes forget they're human and act like God. And I'm a big, you know, if a friend of mine's in the hospital, in fact, one was just in the hospital and he didn't call me, and I said, why? He goes, I'm not sure I could have handled you. telling off everybody and taking over. And I'm like, well, you know, I grew up, you know, weirdly enough in hospitals. I was very sick, and I know the ins and outs, and I'm a bull in a china shop when it comes to a friend or a loved one in a hospital. In fact, this is a funny story. I was throwing a huge like tribal birthday surprise birthday party for one of my interns, and it's actually on one of my Facebook old profile pictures. My face was painted. I had feathers in my hair. I had like a shaman's cloak, feather like bustier, like this crazy outfit. And I get a call that one of my clients has just been moved to the hospital. And in a moment's notice, I go to the hospital looking like that. And he was an older gentleman that I had been loving and watching over and caring for during his dementia. And I knew what veins were right in his arm and how scared he was. And I went flying into that hospital room. And I'm like, no, listen to him. He's right, not that arm. And she's like, yes. And she looks up and says, who are you? I'm like, I'm his real doctor. And literally, she wouldn't listen to me. She tried, and I said, I am telling you. And she tried to remove me from the room. I said, I am not going anywhere until I know this man has proper care and that you're listening to him and you're looking at him as this beautiful human being that has a family, that is deeply loved. He is not just your patient and just a nobody, a number. And he got the best care. Got the best care. But it's important to know, you know.
It is. It really is. And I myself, I stood alone by his bedside 10 to 15 hours a day in the hospital and the nursing home. And whether you're alone or whether you have family, children surrounding you, it doesn't matter. You could become very intimidated easily because the medical staff will say to you, oh, you know, you don't have to come every day, or you don't have to stay so long. Why don't you go to lunch or take a day off? And you could, if you're not strong enough, you could become intimidated and say, oh, well, maybe you're right or whatever. But I said to them, this man is my entire world. Where would you have me go? I don't want to be anywhere else, and I don't want to be with anyone else. So that's why I stay here. I stay here 10, 12, 15 hours a day. And that's exactly why I felt about it. Now, you don't have to stay that long, but like you said, when you do go there with a purpose to help that person in the bed. Find something out. Double check everything. You have to look even at the medicine. I noticed the medicine going in my husband when I arrived one morning, and I didn't know what it was for. And there was a piece of paper laying there, and I started to read it. And here, one of the side effects, they said, do not administer this to someone who has ringing in the ears. Tinnitus. Now, my husband was in World War II, and he fought in Hiroshima, Guadalcanal, and Palalive. And with being in the jungles and being right in the war totally, naturally there was bombing going on every single day, 24 hours a day, and it caused him to get ringing in the ears, and he didn't know what it was, and it almost drove him crazy. Men had to stay up with him at night and that because he couldn't sleep, and they were talking until he finally passed out. So when I read that, I went running out into the hall to the nurse's station to say, hey, because naturally that was mentioned when we first admitted him, but there was no one there. There was no nurse there. So I ran back into the room, and I just pulled it out of his arm. Now, unfortunately, most of it had gone in. But then the nurse must have heard some sort of a bell going off or whatever, an alarm, and came in, what's happening? And I said, look at this. And I tell the doctor, never, never, never again. And he said, oh, that shouldn't hurt him. I said, oh, please.
You're right. The more you know about the medicines, the side effects, and that's what you wrote a little bit in your chapter. To know the medicines and the side effects. Do your research so you know. And I've seen it so many times. And they say go home. That's so they're. I don't want to put down the whole industry because there's lovely, lovely nurses and doctors, but there's a mainstream that, if you're not there, they kind of have relief that they're not being watched. And then things get missed. And I had another friend in the hospital who was in excruciating pain. And they would, if I wasn't there, the pain medicine wouldn't get there on time, which means even if he got it later, it took twice as long for it to take effect, and he'd go into these serious things of pain. I wouldn't leave his side. I said, not until I know he's getting his pain meds when he needs it. He doesn't need more, he just needs it on time. And so, you said, Gloria, they can be intimidating, but it's a beautiful position to be the caretaker of a beloved and to take it as that and really be present for them. I've been in the hospital so many times alone in the bed, with all these tubes, and saying, I'm pretty sure you just gave me that medicine, but I'm there alone. Nobody's fighting for me. And they've double dosed. And, again, it's just like an error because somebody didn't write something down, but you have a watchful eye on you. That's the greatest gift. You see that what you were for your husband, I'm getting chills everywhere, was so beautiful. And I know how hard it was, and you were alone, but you are magnificent to walk through that, going in kind of cold, not knowing anything, and to go through it with such grace. You're just a blessing, and you're such a blessing to him. And you're a blessing to all of us. Such an incredibly important message for people to really get their minds wrapped around. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. What you said is true in the beginning. There are some beautiful doctors and nurses and CNAs. I mean, they're angels. They're special people in the medical field. And my husband had many great doctors and great nurses. And CNAs, I can't throw them enough to take because they do the grunt work and never get an applause. But unfortunately, like you said earlier, there are some, and unfortunately we had a doctor who was egotistical. She not only ignored me, my thoughts as a spouse, but didn't even think to ask her colleagues for their opinion. And I could tell after he was in the coma, I could tell because immediately I asked for a new doctor and I banned her from the room and on that went. But they couldn't believe that he was given this sleeping pill, and of all things, he started with the highest dose. So, but there are so many good in the medical field, and I would never put them all, pigeonhole them into one category and say, oh wow, you don't care. There's so many that you see. They're beautiful, beautiful people. Another thing too that I did was I restricted visitors. And I kept everyone informed, like every couple nights when I would go home around 10 at night, I would send out emails to the friend list. And the friend list grew to almost 100 people. And they really looked for those emails. I brought them up to date. Here's the update on Dick. And they looked forward to that. And when they didn't get those emails after, let's say, 2 or 3 days, they would email me, what's happening? How's he doing? So I made sure that they were up to date, but I also said from day one, no visitors, please. And some did not like that. Some emailed me and said, you're not doing what's good for Dick, you're doing what's good for you. And you should be able to come and see him. You should be able to touch his hand and give him comfort. And I just wrote back and said, you want to come and see what? You want to see a man sleeping? He can't talk to you. I said, he's in a coma. And do you think that he wants you to come and balk at him in this condition? I said, no, I know my husband. That's not one to be on display. So if you want to say something to him, I said, then you write him a card or a letter or send me this email with what you want to say, and I promise you, I will read it to them. And sure enough, they did. They wrote their cards, they wrote their email, and every day, even when he was in a coma, I went in and I read them all to him. And I made a big production. Oh my goodness, look at the mail you got today. And every day, I would read the same cards all over again, and the emails all over again, because I knew he wouldn't remember it from the day before anyway. And I could tell, I could tell immediately, even when he was in a coma, I could tell that he could sense when I was there. And I could tell because I learned to read the machines, and I asked for their instruction on what each meant, and I would read and I would see, especially with blood pressure, and it would be bouncing here and there and everything. And as soon as I would go in and grab his hand and give him a kiss and tell him, I'm here, I could see his blood pressure was just like, calm down, and he would get calm. So even though they're in a coma, they still can sense something or hear it. And I used to say to him every day, my husband was an entertainer, he was a singer, and he had a big band orchestra. And so naturally, I would play CD for him. And I also played a couple others that I knew he liked, like Metaphysical and Stardust. And I used to say to him, you turn to me, you turn to me, follow my voice and come back to me. And of course, I played Dean Martin's song, Return to Me. And so I just did this every single day. And even though while he was in the hospital, the neurological head of the neurological department, that doctor came in with all the interns around him after he had tested and retested and did all kind of things. And he said to me, let him die. And I said, apparently, you have never loved anyone. And he said, I have. I let my brother-in-law die. But he said, you have to understand, your husband lived a good life, and now it's over. And he's been in this coma too long, and when he comes out, he's not going to know you. He's not going to know anything. Are you ready for him? And I just said to him, you don't know my husband. I do. My husband is in there fighting with everything he's got to come out of this. And I'm going to give him every opportunity. And I'm going to help him every way I can. I said, do not take him off of that treatment. Do not give up on him, because I'm not giving up on him. And of course, when they get to the point where they can't do any more for you, for the patient, then they tell you you have to leave. And of course, they gave me that notice, and I ran around to different nursing homes that will not take anyone in a coma. They won't, because medicine doesn't cover it, and on and on. They only took it because they were going to die, and so finally this one nursing home thought he was going to die in a couple of days. And so they did take him, and I was very thankful they did that because I continued doing things with my husband, pull him out of the coma, and 14 days after the nursing home, he just came out of the coma. But I did restrict the visitors, which I think was a good call. Because, you know, a lot of times you're in the hospital and, you know, you're not in a coma, thank God, but you're tired. And you get 5 or 6 people coming in and talking to you and laughing and everything, you know. It tires you as a patient, and they don't realize it. They really don't, because they're healthy and they have this energy and everything. So it's good to kind of think about that, and whenever you are the advocate, that you maybe make a schedule, and so-and-so comes on this day for 2 hours or 1 hour or whatever, depending on what you feel the patient can handle.
I think, I think that that's important, Gloria, that people realize that. I think people are good-hearted and they just, you know, they figure, well, for them, they're in a hospital, you know, and they want to do good and they want to go see them and they want to, you know, show them they're loved and things like that. Like, but that's, I don't think that, like, I was in a hospital for a week. I had something happened to me like 5 years ago, and I really didn't want to see anybody. I mean, it's tiring to see people when you're sick, you know, like you have to be on your, whether we like it or not, we're human beings, so we have to be on our good behavior even when we're in the hospital, right? And then people talking around you, you have to listen, you have to follow the flow, and that requires something from us, and we're already busy taking care of other things inside our body, like our energy is already focusing on taking care of ourselves, and now we have to split that energy and be with other people. I think that that's that's great that you did tell these people, no, you can't come, and I think that more and more people should think about that. It's about letting that person in the hospital better, and then think about them and you send them your thoughts, and you can, you know, like, that's great, the emails, and then you would read them. I think that's awesome. I had an aunt with her, and she's got 13 brothers and sisters, and their 13 brothers and sisters have like 3 to 4 kids, 3.5 kids with that, who also have 3.5 kids, and they all wanted to go see grandma. I mean, it's kind of like, listen, you know, like, give her a break. You go see her when she's free. You know, that, I think that, yeah, people think about that. I think it's important.
Yeah, you have to, you know, you're on show, you have to be on, and you want to be alert, and you want to laugh and talk because you want to show gratitude as the patient. You want to show gratitude that someone took the time to come and see you. But like you just said, you don't have that energy. You need that energy to help your body heal. And so this is no time to be on, you know, in the spotlight. Wait till the person comes home and really get some energy back and make that visit. But make that visit short, and it's okay for you, the spouse or the friend, to say, you know, you can come and visit, but only a half hour. Just a half hour. That's all we can handle. And, you know, even if he says, oh, no, you don't have to go, stay, you go. You say, no, you have to go. Because it's all for the patient's good. And it's all that unconditional.
I have a question here. We're kind of changing the flow here. I didn't want to do it, but we're getting close to, well, actually, we're pretty much ending our hour, and I wanted to did I got to? But in your chapter, you say to research everything, but often we hear that uh, researching or Googling stuff, it's like, don't do that, you're going to get more fear than anything else. So I'm just wondering what you have to say about that.
Okay, you faded out a little bit. I did hear the part about Googling about an illness and then becoming fearful of what you read. Is that what you said?
Yeah, like you in your chapter, you're basically encouraging people to do their research, and then when you talk to, I'm saying the doctors will tell you, no, 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 don't Google, you know, because everybody winds up in the hospital seeing a doctor. We're new doctors because of Google. But I think that we need to know how to gauge it, like what is real. Like I remember when I had my situation, I started Googling, and I have to say that I was like scared out of my mind with everything that I was reading. And I couldn't really be objective, you know, like I had this fear. But there is a difference because now I was Googling for me and it had to do with me, so I had a lot of fear. I'm guessing when you're researching for somebody else, you're not as attached. I don't know. I'm going to let you go with that. Is that good?
Well, that's good. You know, when someone is told that they have a particular illness and you Google it or look it up, you know, in a medical journal or anything, you're getting more of an idea of what that is, and also any side effects, and also what is the procedure or remedy, and can it be cured? And by having that information, that's whenever you use it when you're talking with the doctor. And you could say, I read this is true in his case. And is there a cure? I mean, you're asking the nuts and bolts question. You want to get to the heart of the situation. You're not looking for somebody to give you fluff. You want to know the truth. And so you have to get the knowledge, you have some knowledge, instead of standing there and just saying to the doctor, well, tell me about this illness. Well, you know, why should he take his time? I mean, he'll tell you, but a lot of times they'll use medical terminology and you'll walk away and you won't understand it anyway. So if you at least take the time to research it and try to learn and understand it better, then you can ask better questions. There's nothing to be afraid of. I mean, you want to know whether you're the patient or the advocate. You want to know. You want to know what it's all about. What's happening to this person? They're having a 4-way bypass. Okay. What are the risks? You know, is this a risky surgery? How long does it take? What's going to happen afterwards? What's he going to feel like? What am I going to have to do to his spouse to make him more comfortable? You know, is his eating habits going to change? Etc., etc. So knowledge is never a bad thing. Knowledge is a good thing.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, but before we go, what I'd like to do is, well, first of all, I'd like to do a couple things. Number one, today is the feast day of all souls. And usually that's geared towards the souls that have departed. And it's something that we're here together and we were talking about Anthony did. But also,
Gloria, I didn't get that at all. Can you repeat, please?
Oh, sure, sure. I know we were breaking up a little bit. Is that a little bit better? All right. I was saying that today is the feast day of all souls. And normally that is regards to souls that have passed, like Anthony did. But also all of us with our souls that are right here. And we do have several friends that are fighting illnesses, and a couple are going in for heart surgery this week. And so As we know, the patron saint of healing is Saint Raphael. Raphael means God heals. And so those that are ill usually pray to Saint Raphael, and she's been proven to help. And so I would like all of us at this point to say a little prayer to Saint Raphael to help Douglas and Robert, who are having our bypass surgery this week. And we have Michael and Bobby and Daniel and Vaughn and Mary who are fighting illnesses. So if we all can just say a combined amen, I'm sure Archangel Raphael and Saint Raphael will look upon them, guide the surgeon's hand, and heal those that need to be healed. So, amen. Hear an amen.
Amen.
Thank you. And I'd like to conclude with having Anthony entertain us. As I said before, he is a singer, a virtuoso of the tenor saxophone, had a big band orchestra. He played behind Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis. He opened shows for them, worked with them in Chicago, worked with them in Vegas. Tony Bennett, Rick Damone, the list is actually endless. And so he had a marvelous career in the entertainment field with a lot of name stars. So I would like to play his CD where he's singing Bill Bailey, Won't You Please Come Home? And in the middle of that song, he always had his saxophone around his neck and he plays the saxophone, so you'll get a sample of his marvelous talent. If we're ready, we'll do that. Remember the name of that.
Won't you come on, Bill Bailey? She won't hold the night long. I'll do the cooking, I'll pay the rent. I know I've done you wrong. Remember that rainy evening I threw you out with nothing but a fire to go. I know I'm to blame. Ain't it a shame? Bill Bailey, won't you please come on? Won't you come on, Bill Bailey? Won't you come on? Shame on the whole night long. I'll do the cooking, honey. I'll pay the rent. I know I've done you wrong. Remember that rainy evening I threw you out with nothing but a fine-tooth comb. I know I'm to blame. Ain't it a shame? Bill Bailey, won't you please come on, Bill Bailey, won't you come home? She won't hold that long. I'll do the cooking, honey. I'll pay the rent. I know I've done you wrong. Remember that rainy evening I threw you out with nothing but a fine-tooth comb. I know I'm to blame. Ain't it a shame? Bill Bailey, won't you please come home? Oh yeah, Bill Bailey, won't you please come home?
And Ivan, it's been wonderful being with you, and all those that have been listening. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Gloria.
Thank you, Gloria.
Have a great day.
See you next week, guys.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.